Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for this episode. This week, my guest is Lauren. She runs the Etsy shop Copper and Confetti Co. And she has a unique story behind how she started her Etsy store, and I'm really excited to hear about that, to have her share her story with you. So Lauren, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am too, because you have an origin story on Etsy that isn't quite the same as most of the ones we hear on the podcast. But before we get to that, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you make and sell on Etsy?
Sure. So I live in Westchester County, New York, and I started my Etsy shop about a year and a half ago in February of 2019. And I sell digital art and printables. I mainly focus on weddings. So I sell a lot of save the dates and invites, signature drink signs. A lot of my most popular items have illustrated portraits of the couple or of the couple's pets. And recently I also expanded and started including home decor printables and stuff for baby showers as well.
Wow, that's a lot you're doing. But I like that you phase things in. How did you first get started selling on Etsy?
So it actually all started with my wedding. In the fall of 2018, I wanted to not use a photograph for my own personal wedding thank you cards. I wanted like a little caricature or drawing of us. So I started searching on Etsy for them, and I realized I couldn't really find exactly what I wanted. None of the shops really had the level of customization I needed. I couldn't find a dress that looked like mine or the hair color that was perfect. So I just decided to make my own. Then fast forward a few months later, my wedding was over. I really was missing the whole planning aspect of it. I'm the type of person that always loves to have a project to work on. So that's when I started thinking about opening an Etsy shop. And my first thought was back to those thank you cards that I had made. And that's when I decided to start with digital items for weddings.
What was your favorite part of the whole wedding planning process? I know that sounds like from left field, but I'm just curious.
I guess seeing my vision come to life and being able to handpick everything out myself. Yeah. I shopped a lot on Etsy for my wedding. You can just find such unique things there. And I guess seeing everything come together for that one event felt really special.
Yeah. Now, did you have, because you had a particular vision in mind for the caricature that you wanted, do you have a background in graphic design? Is that why you were so particular, or it was just more of you just saw it in your mind's eye and you knew what it should look like?
So not in graphic design specifically, but I do have a background in the arts. I went to college at Fashion Institute of Technology, where I studied accessories design. And I actually was a handbag designer for 10 years. Unfortunately, I got laid off this spring because of COVID. But that's where I learned Adobe Illustrator. I literally used it every day on the job. So that's what I use to make all of my Etsy items as well.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you were negatively impacted by COVID. But it sounds like you gained some really good skills from that position, which you've been able to translate into what you're doing now. Well,
definitely, yeah.
And is there, how did you learn handbag design?
So I actually originally was really interested in interior design, and I had no idea you could even have a career in a handbag design field. I only found out about it when I went to FIT for their open house, and they had this presentation where they showed all of the different majors they had, and that's how I found out about accessories design, and I just fell in love with it ever since.
Wow. Now, FIT, is that the one, it's somewhere in Manhattan?
Yes, it's on 27th Street.
Yes. Okay. Here's some little trivia. Doesn't mean anything, but just so in 2000, I think it was 2016, Etsy held their first Etsy Up conference. I think that's what they called it then. And it was at FIT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The
Very
whole
cool.
event was there. That's how I know it. Otherwise, I would have no idea. But it was a really good event. And I thought they were going to make it an annual thing, but they didn't. But it was nice because they had breakout training sessions and talks. And then, of course, they had vendors there as well.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it was. I really wish they would do it again or make it an annual thing. I mean, maybe not now, not until things get back to whatever the normal will be, but it was worth attending. So, when you opened your Etsy shop, what was your original intention? What was the goal of it? Because at the time you were working, so was it specifically for side income, or did you have a vision to grow a business eventually?
So it definitely started out as a hobby. I just love doing creative things. So I really liked filling my spare time that way.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea if anyone would even buy anything from me, especially because the wedding market on Etsy is very saturated.
Yeah.
But I figured there's no harm in trying. And then when people did start buying, it was amazing. And luckily, one of the benefits of being a digital seller also is that I have no overhead. So anything that I made was pretty much profit. I don't have to ship anything. I don't really have supplies that I buy. The only thing I really spend money on is if I want to spend on advertising and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of selling a digital product too. And when you notice something isn't moving, how much time do you give it before you will end a product line?
So I like to leave it up for a little while.
Okay.
I've heard that it takes at least 30 days for SEO and keywords to kick in. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but I don't like to get rid of anything, especially if I feel strongly about it. I will play around with maybe changing my keywords or marketing it a different way, or changing the photographs a little bit. I do have a couple items that I've taken down, but I tend to leave it up for at least 6 months.
Okay. When you first opened your Etsy store, you were already familiar with the platform, but knowing, like you said, that the wedding niche was saturated, or somewhat at first, if you just look at it globally, did you have any other types of reservations about selling on Etsy? Did you ever consider any other platforms?
I didn't. I just picked Etsy because I felt that's where people who are engaged and brides, that's their first thought and the first place they go. So I really felt like if my items could get found and if I could do it the proper way, then it definitely was the best platform for the type of product that I wanted to offer.
At the time, did you take a look at all at Handmade at Amazon, or that wasn't even on your radar?
At that time, no. I have looked into it since then, but unless things have changed, I don't think for my type of items, they allow the customization of digital items. So I haven't looked into that any further.
Oh, I didn't realize that they don't allow custom. I guess that would be hard because they don't really like to foster relationships between the sellers and the customers, which Amazon are. I know Amazon is very what's the word? Where they don't really like to connect you with the buyers so much. Right. So
and right now, I need to talk to the customer to get their comments and everything. We go back and forth a couple of times before the order is settled and ready to be sent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would be hard on a platform like Amazon. So going back to the early days, Do you remember how long it took for your store to gather momentum? Like, when did your sales start coming in, and was it gradual? Was it just spotty in the beginning, or did sales just take off soon after?
So I got my first sale about a month to a month and a half after I first opened my store. And that one was really special because it was from a stranger. So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
The fact that this person picked my art out of these pages and pages of beautiful art just meant so much to me. But then I remember it was another couple weeks to my next sale, but then the gaps between the sales just started shortening and shortening.
Mm-hmm.
So it was gradual and it was pretty consistent.
Yeah. I like that. It's very rare that one wants to get noticed by a stranger on the internet, but this is one of those times where, like you said, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
How was it when you were working and running the shop? How did you manage your time then? And how has that changed now that this is what you're focusing on mostly?
Yeah, so during the busier months, it definitely was tough working full time and then doing Etsy on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to take advantage of my commutes. I used to commute on a train to work, so I'd have at least a half hour both ways. I would check my Etsy conversations on my phone, post on Instagram, just do anything I could on the commutes. And then I would work when I got home, sometimes until I went to bed. If I had a ton of orders,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the weekends to catch up too. And now, obviously, it's nice I can focus on Etsy a little more.
Yeah.
So I would say day to day now I'm working on it anywhere from 2 hours to like 6 or 7 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
How do you divide up all what you need to do between creating, spending time actually creating and then fulfilling orders in addition to handling administrative tasks?
So I always put my orders as priority.
Mm-hmm.
I'll always get through that first. And then I'm a huge list maker, so I have lists everywhere. Anytime I get an idea for a new item, I add it to my list. And then whenever I'm caught up on orders, or sometimes on the weekend, if I'm feeling really inspired, I'll jump in and start creating something from my list of items that I want to make. You also have to be in the right mindset, I feel like, to work on the creative side.
Yes.
So if I'm feeling creative, I'll try to focus on that stuff versus SEO and a little more of the technical stuff.
Yeah. I get that too. Sometimes if your mind isn't free to create, you just can't fake it.
Right. I don't think it's good to force it either, because if you're not in the right mindset, I don't think your work will come out as good.
Yeah.
So that's when I try to pivot and do some of those more mundane tasks.
Yeah. Where do you get the inspiration for the designs that you come up with?
So I follow a lot of wedding inspirational Instagram pages like Style Me Pretty and The Knot. I like to stay on top of wedding trends. Also, Pinterest is a huge source of inspiration for me. But also my customers come up with really great ideas. I've had people ask me for custom orders, and I make things that I've never made before. And then they turn out so great, and I'm so happy with how they turned out that I decide to put them up in my shop and offer them as a listing.
Have you ever had anyone who has thought of something that they want that you helped work with them to create their vision, and then they come back and see that you're selling it and they don't like that?
No, I haven't. I also don't post anything personal. I always check with my customers that I could post a photo of their actual item for one thing. And then the other thing is I will make new versions of it to post photos of. So I'm never posting their actual item. And it's a general item. Like for one example, I had someone ask me, I had made her wedding invites, and then she wanted me to create a custom map to go along with the invite. So I did that for her. And then that was the first map I had ever created. And I know it is a wedding trend, but it's kind of nice that my customers almost forced me into making this item I maybe had planned in the future, but hadn't thought of. And it's a nice way to get new products and new ideas.
Yes. I think one of the things I'm learning from talking with other sellers is that, one of the best sources of inspiration is your customers. And the only way to actually get that inspiration is by offering customizations, because you can never tell what's in someone else's head. And the chances that somebody else will come up with a good idea that you can run with are high when you do offer to do custom work.
Exactly. And I love working on custom orders. I think they're really fun, and the couple's personality really comes through too.
Yeah. Do you find that doing custom work tends to be more involving? Well, I guess it will, because you're working with the couple, but even just mentally, and is it a bit more mentally exhausting because you know that you're making something that somebody else sees, like for someone like you, who you have a very specific vision? Is there an added level of angst that comes with working on those?
A little bit sometimes if it's something that I'm really not familiar with. But I always make sure the customer is clear that it's going to be drawn in the style that you see on my Etsy shop already. I don't want them to have this vision in their head of, a fine art painting or something else that they've seen online. I try to make it clear, if they're okay with the type of art and drawing that they see on my Etsy shop already, that's what it will look like.
Okay. And I guess if they were drawn to your shop to begin with, they already like your style. It's just a matter of making it what they want it to, I guess, say or look like. But the general style is the same.
Yeah.
So when it comes to pricing your products, how do you determine how much to charge, and how do you know when it's time to change your pricing?
So I do some research with just what else is out there on Etsy. I like to just search for that type of item and see what your competitors have it up for. Sometimes it doesn't always apply, because the way I make my items might take longer or shorter, but it's definitely good to see where you'll sit with the rest of your competition. So I take that into account. And then I also just take into account how long I think each item will take me to make. I have had to change my prices on some things already. So for example, when I first listed my custom maps, I think I put them up at $50. And then I got a couple orders on them, and they were just taking me so much longer than I thought they would. So then I did up the price. I changed it to $70, and I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure if people would be turned off by the price increase, if they would keep buying them. But then they ended up actually selling better. So one piece of advice I would give to other Etsy sellers is to never be worried about putting your price as what you think the work is actually worth.
That makes so much sense, because yes, I know there's a fear that you know the value of what you're doing, but will a buyer appreciate that? And,
right.
And going up to can seem scary, but I feel like I hear this time and time again that going up doesn't scare the right customers off. They will still find you and they will still purchase because that's what they want.
Right.
Do you find that it varies because you're now catering to not just the wedding market, but also home decor, which I guess home decor and baby showers, and I guess that all kind of flows into what could be the same customer. But do you find that you have to set your pricing differently for those different markets, or it's the same all around?
I pretty much keep it the same. Some of my home decor items are a lot cheaper just because some of those are instant downloads. So there's no customization with those. So obviously those are a lot cheaper because I don't really have to do any of the work. The customer gets it automatically as soon as they buy it. But other than that, so far, I pretty much kept pricing around the same. But I also take into account when I consider pricing what would I be willing to pay for this item also?
Yeah. Did you, when you were thinking or considering expanding, did you have any reservations about mixing the niches? Even though I think they blend well together, they're not completely disparate niches. But did you ever consider having a home decor store and a store for baby items? And is what you're doing now working just as well?
I had always planned on maybe expanding in the future when I started my shop. I just wanted to start small, so that's why I focused on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why when I branded my shop, I wanted to make sure it didn't have like weddings in the title or anything like that, so I could expand further if I wanted to in the future.
Yeah.
So I do still brand it kind of like all your life's digital art for all of your life's special events. So I still think, it definitely works all together. And I've been treating it the same so far, and it does seem to be working.
Okay, that's good to know. So in the time that you've been selling, has anyone ever not been happy? And how did you deal with that?
Thankfully, I haven't had any bad reviews yet. All my customers have been so great. I did get one 4-star review, but she wrote something really nice. So that's, thankfully, I'm very grateful that I've gotten really good feedback so far.
Yeah. I wonder about those sometimes when granted, it's not always 5 stars, but when somebody gives a 4-star review, but then they give glowing remarks. I'm like, so why didn't you just give me 5?
I know. Like, did your hand slip or?
Yeah, I know. It's like, did the
5
cursor?
stars.
Yeah, did you not see the 5th one? Yes, but it's better than a 1 or a 2. So
exactly. You still seem really happy, so that's all I cared about.
Yeah. How do you promote your Etsy shop? I know you mentioned something about advertising earlier. Do you invest in the Etsy ads or offsite ads, or do you mainly focus on social media?
So I do a little bit of both. I do Etsy ads, but I'm a little conservative with them. I only do the minimum a day. I do $1 a day. And I do Instagram a lot. I would say that's probably the one social media platform that I focus on the most, just because I enjoy it the most. And I also feel like it's the one that I'm the best at.
Yeah.
I have a Pinterest as well. I'm trying to get better at Pinterest. I feel like it's a really important platform. Because I know whenever I'm shopping, that's the one place I go to look for stuff. So it's more like a search engine. So I started using Tailwind recently. So I'm definitely trying to ramp up my Pinterest game. And I also have an email list that I give special offers through and things like that.
How are you finding Tailwind? Was it easy for you to catch on to how to use the tool and really maximize what it offers?
Yeah, I just started using it only a couple weeks ago, so I'm still on the free trial, but so far it's pretty easy, and I've mainly been using it besides the scheduling tool. I liked the tribes factor, which is where you can join the groups and the people in the group share each other's pins. I thought that was a great way to get more of an audience on your items. So it's definitely gaining momentum and it's helping. And it's just the scheduling tool makes it so much easier instead of going in every day and manually doing it. So I really like that aspect.
Yeah. So do you use it for both Pinterest and Instagram right now, or just one of them?
Just Pinterest right now. Instagram, I feel like I have a handle on. And I still do Instagram manually, and I don't mind that personally. Pinterest just seems more of like a daunting task to me. So that's why I felt like I needed help with that one.
Yeah. Prior to that, for Pinterest, were you primarily just using the pin button that you can use right after you create a new listing? Or were you actually going into Pinterest and manually curating your boards and whatnot?
I had started doing it manually and creating actual pins, artwork in Illustrator just for Pinterest. And it was so much work that I started more using it, pinning directly from the Etsy site.
Yeah.
And going in once in a while here and there, going to my feed and pinning a couple things to add.
Yeah. I know. I get overwhelmed with Pinterest, quite honestly. Even though I know, I look in my stats and I see that of all the social media platforms, Pinterest is sending the most traffic my way. But still, it's a lot.
Of work. Social media sounds and seems so easy, but each platform really takes a long time to learn, and there's so much involved in each one. It's very time consuming.
Yes. And one of the things, another seller I had on, Michelle Rohr, I remember one of the things she said that stood out to me was just what she did was that she picked one platform and she just decided, I'm just going to focus on this one and make it my thing. And that really worked for her. And the one she picked was Pinterest, which for me, I was like, no, not Pinterest. Just because it doesn't work well with my brain. I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I was mainly focusing on Instagram all this time. And now that I feel like I have a handle on it, plus I have a little extra time now, it was time for me to really delve deeper in Pinterest.
Yeah, now it's a good time. Speaking of having more time, is having a website or a blog even on your radar at all? Maybe if not for now, down the road, and how would you see yourself using that?
For sure. It's on my to-do list. Actually, it's on getting higher priority. Something I want to do very soon, actually. For the meantime, I think I'm going to put up my website just with a link to my Etsy shop, not have it shoppable yet, but it's definitely something I'd want to do down the line.
Yeah.
Because it does scare me a little bit relying solely on Etsy for income. I love them as a platform, but it's a little scary to be relying on someone else. I mean, they could change the rules or they could change the algorithm, and then all of a sudden your shop doesn't do as well on it. So I would like to have a second avenue for revenue.
Yeah. And, everyone says, it's good to not have all your eggs in one basket. So that makes perfect sense. And hopefully you've grabbed your domain name already.
I did, yes.
Good. Now, speaking about selling digital products, so I know that's kind of different than selling physical products. What's been working well for you in the space that you're in, and what insights can you offer to other sellers who are either considering getting into selling digital products or who currently are?
I think one of the most important things is to make it very clear on your listings, write it in every place you can think of, that it is a digital item and nothing physical is going to ship, because I've seen a lot of people have problems with customers who miss it or just skipped over that part and didn't realize it. I actually have like a little icon on every single one of my listings, and it says digital file only, and it's on my cover photo for everything I sell. So I actually haven't come across that problem. So I think that really helps. And the other thing I would suggest is to just be super clear when you send the files, the instructions for what is sent, how to open them, and all that. And there really won't be a lot of problems. The benefits, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that there's not much overhead. You don't really need any supplies. I don't have to buy anything, and you're not shipping anything. So that's a huge headache saved.
Yeah, I would imagine. And so I guess that's one of the ways that you can maximize your profits is keeping your overhead low. And when you customize, does that also do you charge extra for customizations?
I do, but I
Okay.
try to be reasonable. Sometimes the customer will ask for something that's really simple. For example, maybe they have a hair color that's a little that I don't offer. I don't charge for that because that will honestly take me 2 seconds to change. But if they
Okay.
want something really customized, like I recently had a couple who was really into football, and in their little illustration for their save the date, they wanted to be holding a football. So that requires a brand
Cute.
new drawing. So I did charge a few dollars for something like that.
Yeah. That's so cute.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you get to have continuing relationships with your customers? Like after, I guess, if they sign up to your mailing list, probably.
I do. And it's one of my favorite parts about being on Etsy is the connection that I get with the customers. I've had a bunch of them send me photos after their wedding, showing me pictures of how they used my signs. And
Mm,
I just love seeing that stuff. The fact that they picked my art to be a part of like their most important day still blows my mind. So
yeah.
seeing that stuff really means a lot to me.
Yes. And how do you nurture your mailing list? What do you communicate to them, and how often?
So I try to do it once a month. I don't do it, I know a lot of people do it weekly, but I didn't want to overwhelm people's inboxes. So I just do it once a month for now. And I like to give freebies in there because I feel like if they're going to give me their email address and they're signing up for this, I want to give them something valuable in return.
Mm.
So I've given away like wedding day of packing checklists or little bride to be stationery printables, things like
Mm.
that. So I try to make it fun. And I also give a little bit of my experience and knowledge from when I planned my wedding.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But that's helpful.
Yeah.
What provider do you use for the emails?
MailChimp I use.
Okay. Did you find that for you it was easy to figure it out, or did you have to go through some of the tutorials that they offer?
I found it pretty easy. The landing page was easy. The emails are pretty easy. I do think it's a little limiting. I
Mm.
sometimes want to make it take it one step further, but overall I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Okay. When you get a new idea for a product, not something that, say, someone has asked for, but like a new concept altogether, what's the typical, I guess, life cycle? Life cycle? Yeah. How long does it take before you actually create it and then have it up and ready for sale?
I'll start creating it right away. I'll
Mm.
do a little bit of research just to get maybe some ideas, but I find the best way to make an item is just start drawing and start creating. The timing really depends on the item. If I'm painting something new for it, or if I'm just drawing on the computer, the painting will take a little longer. But then the actual listing part probably takes me anywhere from half an hour to an hour, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that because um does that have to do with uploading files and just getting the file sizes right for Etsy?
Well, also I pick out my mock-up photos and I create all the
Oh,
different listing
yes.
images. I do have templates I use basically. So it's gotten a little faster with time because a lot of my verbiage is the same
Mm-hmm.
from the listing. I'll just have to change words here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say making the listing photos and the images that I want to pick probably takes me the longest. And I also like to make a couple different designs to
Yeah.
show instead of just showing one over and over. So that also is a little time consuming as well.
Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up because just see here, I have a note that I made to talk to you about photography for digital products. Like, what advice can you give to digital product sellers? Because I know that there's an issue with, or could be an issue with, people trying to rip off the designs because they're digital, and so they try and do that. How would you advise other sellers to protect their product so that people aren't just going on there and ripping it off. Does that make sense? Does it make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
So I watermark anything that I would be worried about people stealing. So anything that's an instant download, basically, that
Yeah.
wouldn't need further customization, I put my logo across it in gray and I just fade it out. So you can still see the image clearly, but anyone trying to steal it really is kind of blocked from that.
Okay.
I just try to strategically place it so the customer still gets to really see the image, and I don't want them to be distracted either.
Right. Have you had any problems with people taking your designs, or have you seen them pop up somewhere where they shouldn't have been?
I haven't, no.
Oh,
Unless
good.
they're out there and I just haven't seen them yet, but I haven't. I do check once in a while just to make sure. I'll do a search and see, but I haven't come across anything yet.
Okay. All right. I noticed also that you use the updates feature on Etsy. Do you have a particular strategy for using it, and are you able to trace back sales to doing updates?
Yeah, that was something I had heard about on a podcast that I listened to, and I had never heard of that feature before. So I just started using it here or there whenever I felt like I had something important to share, whether it's a sale or a new item. I felt like as I was getting more favorites on my shop, it was more important to do that too. So I haven't traced any sales back to it, but I do just like to do it here and there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious about that, because it has that feature where you can link right back to a listing, which I think is great. But I always wonder what a good strategy for using that is.
Yeah, I try to do it once a week.
Okay. Well, at least you do it. I did it in the beginning and then kind of fell off the wagon. What would you say are some of the things that you think that you did that helped to set you up to be successful on Etsy?
I think varying my assortment helped a lot, and also mixing up the tags. So even if I have a similar item, I'll change the tags to try to get other people to see it and then compare and see which one works better. And also varying my assortment by adding baby shower items and things like that just opens me up to a whole new customer base. So I think that has helped. And also, since I have been working on Etsy more full time, I've been listing items more frequently, and I have seen an increase in traffic from that.
Oh, okay. Did you say traffic from Google?
No, just views on my shop.
Oh, okay.
In general.
Okay. And actually, for your products, since you primarily sell digital products, have you seen that offsite ads are driving any of your sales?
I think I only got one sale from offsite ads. I haven't had too much traction from it.
Okay.
But I have left it since I only do the minimum amount. So I just kind of leave it at that amount.
Yeah. Okay. What is or what are some things, maybe one or two things that you particularly enjoy when it comes to selling on the Etsy platform? And are there any features that you would like to see implemented in the future on the platform?
So I think I mentioned this already, but my favorite thing is definitely my connection with the customers. I love hearing their feedback, and whenever I get a good review, it just makes me so happy that my art made them happy.
Yeah.
I even had a bride tell me that her mom cried when she saw her wedding invites. And it's so sweet. So I love stuff like that. That's definitely my favorite part.
Yeah.
And I'm overall really happy with the platform. I find it really easy to use. I love the organization of it. The only thing that I do wish they would change is I wish I could extend the delivery date on an order more than one time. because a lot of times my customers, I have to chase them down to get an answer on a proof, or they're just not ready
Oh.
to prove it yet for whatever reason. Maybe they're waiting for, more info from their wedding venue to finalize all the wording or something. So I will extend it once, but then if they're still not ready to approve the order, it doesn't let me do that again. So I
Oh.
had to tell customers, or like ask them if they're okay if I mark it as complete, but I'll keep working with you on this until it's done,
Mm.
because otherwise Etsy will penalize if I have too many open orders that are overdue.
Oh, okay. I never even knew that you could do that. But I guess yes, if you offer custom work, then
Yeah.
that's an option.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something I learned from Etsy, and this is from working with their education team. In case you didn't know this, and for anyone else who's wondering, so you know how you mentioned having too many open orders. I don't know if you're aware, but so what Etsy does is if they see that you have, a certain number of open orders, and they look at your processing time, then they calculate how long they think it will take you, or how long, based on your processing time and the number of open orders you have, how long it's going to take you to get everything done and out of the door. And if it's past a certain time, let's say they calculate it's going to take you 14 days, like to really clear your queue out. What happens is your listings may stop showing up in search.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yes, because they're giving you time to finish up so that you don't get too backlogged. And so all this is going on the back end. And this came up because someone had said, my listings aren't showing up. People are asking if I'm still selling, and I'm literally having to send them the link to my listing so that they can order. And I'm working with the Etsy U education team, and that's how they explained it to us. So, and this is information that they want people to know. So I'm not like spilling some company secrets. This is so if anybody has ever wondered if you get busy and then all of a sudden you get slow, it's probably because that's what's happening.
That is very interesting. I had no idea. So there's stuff going on in the background we don't even know about.
There's stuff going on in the background we don't know about. Yes, exactly. And, the thought is, they don't want the sellers to get overwhelmed. And two, they don't want customers having a bad experience who might come in, and be like, if you're backlogged and they place an order and then they end up having to wait 3 weeks when they thought they would only have to wait 10 days, then it looks bad on Etsy. And so, I mean, it's, it makes also self-serving, but, helps everyone. So just FYI. What advice would you give to aspiring sellers on Etsy? And in particular, maybe even sellers who are thinking of coming into a niche that appears to be saturated, like what you did. And what would you tell them? How would you advise them to come onto the platform and try and find some success? Because the wedding niche is so hard, and you're doing it, so you're doing something right. What would you tell that other person?
I think the best thing to do is just to start. Just jump into it and give it a try. Definitely do some research beforehand, but there is never going to be that time where you know everything and everything is lined up perfectly. So at some point you are just going to have to start. And I always feel like the best way that I learned was as problems arose, or as I was, filling my first order. Like, some things you just have to do firsthand to learn them.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is just to start.
Yes, I agree. And you probably don't have this problem because you sell primarily need digital files. But I was saying in a previous episode, one of the things I learned early was how to give refunds and returns, because when you sell physical products, there's a likelihood that you might get returns. And I got one early in my selling journey, and so I had to figure that process out quickly, how to give someone back their money and how to get the product back. So
I mean, I remember filling my first order and I was so excited, but also terrified at the same time because I had no idea what I was doing. I remember using I joined a bunch of Facebook groups for Etsy sellers and I was asking them a bunch of questions, but you'll figure it out and it'll be okay. You'll get through that first one and then the next one will be easier, and it just gets easier and easier after that. Yeah,
it really does. What's something that you're doing now that you think is working really well for you overall?
Besides expanding my assortment and listing more frequently, one thing I did recently on Instagram was a giveaway, and that worked really well. I got a lot of new followers. People seemed really excited about it. And so I definitely do a giveaway again on Instagram for sure.
How much time and effort did that take?
So that I actually collabed with someone else on who has a channel on YouTube, actually. She reached out to me and we collabed together and did a joint giveaway. So it took a little bit more time just because we were trying to gather our information and put it all together. But all in all, it's pretty easy, especially for me, because again, I'm not shipping any prizes. It's more like I'm just going to email them the prize. So for digital sellers, it's actually really easy. You just need an email address from them and then talk to them about what they want and send it off.
Oh, nice. So for the YouTube person that you collaborated with, I assume that they got something out of the collaboration too, right?
Yes. So her name is actually, her handle on Instagram is DIY Alex Vanover. She makes really great crafts and things for weddings, and she has all these tutorials on her YouTube. So I gave away an invitation design, and she was giving away a Michael's gift card. So the winner could go to Michael's with their gift card, buy the cardstock of their choice, and make this insert, this beautiful laser cut insert that goes with the invitation. And she has the tutorial for it on her YouTube channel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's so intricate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see how that would take some coordination.
That took a while to plan, but we both got followers from it, and everyone was really excited. So it worked out really well.
That's nice. Did they stick around?
What do you mean?
The followers.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Okay, good. So is that something that you think you would like to do on a regular basis? And does Instagram have any rules around how often you can do giveaways?
Yeah, I definitely do it again, and definitely on the regular. I think I would like to try doing it maybe once a month. Okay. I'm not sure if there are rules about how often you can do it. I definitely have to look into that.
Okay. I keep hearing about people doing collaborations on social media. I've never done one, and I don't really know how it works. So this is a first for me, and it sounds like it was a win-win. To find someone who what they're doing complements what you're doing, and then figure out something that will benefit you both. Yeah,
this was a fun one. I've had others that didn't work out so well. I would say to anyone thinking about doing anything like that, especially with bloggers and things, always check their engagement. If something seems off, then there might be something a little off. Just look at the followers they have and compare it to the number of likes that they get on their photos, and it should kind of match up or make sense.
Okay. And if it doesn't, is it safe or, one can assume maybe, so one, their followers aren't engaging, and two, maybe they aren't even all real people. I've heard that there are bots that follow people to increase their follow numbers.
Right. If you still want to do it, definitely do it. Just you have to be okay with the fact that nothing may come of it.
Mm. Okay. Makes sense. Are there any tools or resources that you use that you find helpful? And I know you've already mentioned a couple. We've talked about Tailwind and MailChimp, and of course Adobe Illustrator. Anything else that you use in your day-to-day business that you find particularly helpful?
Yeah, I use Creative Market a lot. I get my mock-up photos from them, and sometimes I buy some fonts from them as well. I get a lot of good information from just Etsy seller Facebook groups
Yeah.
on Facebook, and I like scrolling through that and just reading just to gather information. I do that a lot. Also, recently I've been taking some classes on Skillshare.
Oh, yes.
They have really great resources. I took some watercolor painting classes just to freshen up some skills. I also did a Pinterest class, an SEO class. So they have great options on there to learn from. And I also use eRank a lot when I'm doing my keyword research.
Okay. Now, for Skillshare, and I will have links to all of these. So if you missed that list, they'll be in the show notes for this episode, and I'll have links. So if you're listening, you can go and check them out. For Skillshare, I haven't done a Skillshare course, but from what I understand, they're bite-sized, or at least not lengthy, so that you can consume them relatively quickly and start to implement what you learned. Is that what you found on Skillshare?
Yeah, like the Pinterest one I did, I think it was under an hour. So I did it in a day, and I
Wow.
was using the tools I learned that same day. So it's really great.
Oh, see, now I wonder, because I've seen some Pinterest courses that cost hundreds of dollars, and they'll have like 47 modules, which will take hours to go through. But I wonder, is it all the same information that, like you did, you can
I
consume
know.
in an hour or so and then be doing it? What's the difference? I
I
mean,
know.
I guess it's a
I'm
rhetorical question,
oh,
but go on.
I understand because I'm very careful about spending tons of money on those classes. Like you mentioned, they're
Mm-hmm.
so expensive, and I feel like there are so many good free resources out there.
Mm-hmm.
Skillshare has, when I signed up for it, I got 3 months for free,
Mm-hmm.
but I would continue to pay for it because that's how much I liked it.
Yeah.
But there is so much information out there already that you can get without paying anything.
Yeah.
I feel like it's at least worth trying that stuff first.
Yeah. Yes. I know I was recently trying to do something on YouTube, and of course I went to YouTube to try and figure it out, because where else do you go?
Mm.
And I found out that YouTube has their own Creators Academy for free.
Oh,
Yeah, completely free. And they walk you through how to, right from setting up the Google account for the YouTube to, doing the more advanced things. And it was funny because when I was looking, initially I saw all these courses on, become a YouTube, aficionado. Not really, but something like that. And of course they were, hundreds to thousands of dollars. And I wondered why YouTube wasn't making it more public that they have this academy and it's free. If you have, even if you don't have a Google account, you can still watch the videos. But if you have one, you get the notes and everything. So, yeah, sometimes free is just as good.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Do you have an Etsy shop shout out? And this can be maybe another seller that has helped you along the way, or you just want to give some recognition to, or just another shop that you enjoy.
Sure. So I would like to shout out a shop that I actually bought something from for my own wedding. It's called
Nice.
Salt and Pine Design Co. And I bought my dad his wedding day gift from here. She makes
Oh,
personalized photo frame mats and she handwrites song lyrics on them. She does really beautiful calligraphy work, and she has a couple other items, but I had the song lyrics written on a picture frame mat that me and my dad danced to at my wedding. And she does such gorgeous work.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
And that's a thoughtful gift too.
Yeah, it's stuff like that you can really only find on Etsy.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Lauren, if anyone wants to get in touch with you and maybe continue the conversation, or if they have questions for you about what you're doing, if they're trying to get into digital products or what have you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, they can send me an Etsy conversation or send me a DM on Instagram or email. Any of those are fine. I'm always checking all three of them.
Okay. And what's your handle?
On Instagram,
It's
it's Copper and Confetti Co.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted you to say it, but I will have a link to it also in the show notes for this episode, as well as to Lauren's Etsy shop. So anyone who, if you want to connect with her, you can easily do that. Lauren, thank you so much for spending this time with me, for coming to talk about your experience. I really like that in the time that you've been on Etsy, you've been able to learn all what you have and then share this information with us. So I thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, and I'm glad I got to share a little bit about my story.
I am too. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. If you want to connect with me, you can go to convome.com and use the contact form. If you would like to be my guest on the podcast, please do reach out to me. Also on the at convome.com, there's a Be My Guest page. And on social media, you can connect with me on Instagram at Convome Podcast. And until next week, I will be back next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.